Hi there, today I'm going to be showing you how to do this.
Hey, you forgot to tell them to like and subscribe.
Fine. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Okay, so we're in After Effects here, and I've got the two clips already loaded in. This is our original clip, this is the clip we're going to be using. As you can see, it's just me and Daniel talking to each other. And then the other clip is a background clip, which is where, our background plate, which is where I've just got Daniel sat there, and I've recorded him and he sits as still as possible. So first of all, we're going to go to Time, right click and go Time, Freeze Frame. I'm going to freeze frame that background clip. You can change the names by pressing Return. We'll move the background clip underneath our original video. And then you can see, so it just plays the normal video. I'm going to scrub through until just before my head pops up. And we're going to grab the pen tool. And we're going to rotoscope out Daniel's arm and my head. We're not rotoscoping Daniel's arm out, we're from the side of Daniel's arm all the way to the right of screen there. And I'm going to change the mask from add to subtract. You can see my head just popped up there. So we go to the mask path and we'll put a keyframe marker right there, and what we're going to do is we're going to do something called rotoscoping. And we're basically just going to rotoscope my body out, because all we want is my head, my face, because we want the symbiote to come out of Daniel's back and then just have my head in it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just moving the points of the mask, and because I've keyframed the mask path already, every time I make an adjustment it's going to automatically add a keyframe to the timeline. And this is called rotoscoping, and it becomes very tedious, and that's why I'm going to just zoom past it, because basically all you have to do is the same thing on every frame. So you make the mask move as my head moves, or as your head moves, whatever footage it is that you're using, whatever you wanted to mask out. And then we're going to do an exposure. This is a little trick if you're finding it hard. If you've got, like for this example, it's hard to see Daniel's arm and I'm trying to rotoscope around Daniel's arm. So if I up the exposure and up the gamma, you can see there that it looks horrible, but at least there's a distinction between Daniel's arm and the rest of the shot, so I can then get a better mask. And again, we're just zooming in because, as you can see, it's very repetitive. It's just a case of scrubbing through the timeline and removing my body. When that's done, we're going to export. So you go File, Export, Add to Render Queue, and you click Render. So here we are in Blender, and Blender's a free program, and as you can see I've already put what we've just exported, I've uploaded it into the background images there, check that box. And as you can see, if you go to this like that, and then you go to movie clip, then the blue, and import your file there, and you'll see that it automatically gives you the right amount of frames. So if we jump to the end and then just scrub backwards just by holding the left arrow key on the keyboard, you can see that you're scrubbing through the timeline. So if we go to View and Front, and then View and Align Camera, Active Camera to View, that'll bring the camera into the front view so it's looking forward. I'm just going to delete the cube that it gives you by pressing X, Control A to add, and then we're going to select Cylinder. Then we're going to scrub through until we get to a frame where my head's upright, and I'm going to move the cylinder over by pressing G, and then I'm going to rotate it by pressing R, and then I'm using these arrows just to put it into the right place. I press move into edit mode with the tab key, and I'm just going to select the end cap of the cylinder, and I am adjusting it into place. And then with Control R, that will now create what's called an edge loop, and with these edge loops we can shape the cylinder as we want it to appear. And what I'm really doing is I'm creating the main core, the main trunk of the symbiote, and then obviously there'll be like the little tendrils that come out, the thinner tendrils that come around. But like I said before, a lot of this technique is repetition. Once you know one skill, you just sort of repeat that skill over and over again. And what I'm doing there to select the whole ring is pressing Alt and then selecting it. And we're scaling these sections now, and like it's the same thing. To add those cuts, it's Control and R, and that will add you a loop cut. So as you can see, I've sort of created that main body, that main trunk of the symbiote. So now we're going to make the material, and you click over that little red circle there, you'll see. Now I'm being cycles mode as well for this. If you split the screen and we'll go to the node editor on this side, press T and N to get rid of those things, and we want to be in the rendered viewport, and we want to put the video clip behind. Like I said, N to bring that sidebar up there. We're going to make the diffuse a dark grey, and we're going to Control A, add a mix shader, Control A and add a glossy shader, and we're going to make that sharp, and take the roughness right the way down to 0, or 0.5, sorry, 0.05. I'm going to add a layer weight and add that into the fraction, connect it to the Fresnel. Create a bump and add that into the normals of your diffuse and glossy, and add a noise texture and add that into the height of the bump texture. And we're going to tweak these values. I think I went with 8, 8, and 12 is what I ended up going with on my noise texture. So then if we go to this spanner and add a modifier, we're going to add a subsurface modifier and turn the subdivisions on the view up to 2 to match the render, and click smooth shading. And to get rid of those little things on the end there, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the caps and press E to extrude, but then we're going to hit return straight away. And what I'm going to do, so we're not actually going to extrude the caps, they're going to stay there, but the way the modifier works, it just helps us to fill out the end of the caps there, as you can see. And it gives us a nice smooth object. So now we're going to go back into our solid view. We're going to bring the opacity right down for the background video, and now we're going to create the tendrils. So we add a curves path. We're going to edit mode, and we're going to edit it by moving these vertices, and you don't really have to worry about what the orange line connecting the vertices looks like, because it's the black chevron line that is going to be the tendril. What we're going to do is we're going to use a bevel on this path, and that's what's going to give us the tendril in the end. So the orange line can be as zigzagged as it needs to be, as long as your black line is smooth. So we add a curves Bezier circle and rotate that 90 degrees on the y-axis. Select our curves and go up to the curves options, down to bevel, and we're going to eyedropper the Bezier circle, and as you can see, that makes us a nice tube. And if we select the circle and resize the circle, that will resize the width of our tendril. Just have a look. what I like to do is get the camera view up on the right hand side there, so I can always see what everything looks like on camera. Just add the material to it, and I'm also going to change the viewport color of the material just so that we know what has the material assigned and what doesn't, and a little bit of a tweak just so that we can see this tendril in shot. And the process is the same then. For as many tendrils as you want, you just create a curve and add a bevel. So I've done 3, as you can see there. And now what we're going to do is, if we're going to edit mode on the main body of the symbiote, we're just going to use this head cap, the cap that's nearest my head, and we're going to extrude that in by using E and S to scale it. And we're going to create like a bowl. If you press Shift S, and you can make the 3D cursor go to that selection, and we're going to add in a UV sphere and position that just as you look on the right hand side. It's just where my head is, because what we're actually going to do is we're eventually going to make this have a green material, and we're going to chroma key it out in After Effects. For now, we're just making sure that it's the right dimensions and covers my face the best it can. Just going to make this bit cover my chin, and I'm using the paint tool there. It's C. If you press C on the keyboard, that will bring up that paint tool, and then if you press G to grab and Shift Y, then you'll be able to move your selection in just the Z and X axes. And what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this bit at the back here, just where it's poking out, because otherwise you'll have green poking through the symbiote, and when we come to chroma key it out in After Effects, you'll lose the back half of the head, of the symbiote's head. So I'm just going, if you press Z, you go into wireframe view, as you can see here, and that allows you to select both the front and the back faces when using the paint selection tool, which again is C on the keyboard. And I'm just going to make sure that everything is falling back into that back section there of the symbiote's body, so that nothing sticks out. And I'm going to go into the material mode, assign a new material. I'm going to make this material green. I'm not going to do anything fancy to this material. I'm going to click smooth shading, and that's our head. Now we're going to make the bits of the symbiote that sort of sprawl onto my face, and the way we're going to do that is we're just going to grab these faces, and we're going to move these and scale them down by using S, or scale them up, well, scale them down, yes, by using S. And that'll just give us, again, always looking at the right side, which has got the video on, so I can see whereabouts on my face these bits are. So, and again, that's extrude with the E on the keyboard, and that'll give us these nice spiky bits that fall across my face. Just keep grabbing faces and extruding them and resizing them with the E key and the S key. And there I put a loop cut in there with the Control R. And it's all really personal preference, but right now what I'm doing is I'm selecting these two edges and I'm using Control B to bevel them, and that gives me two new faces that I can create this sort of vein structure with. Well, like I said, it's really rough and it's all artistic. I mean, you can spend a lot of time really getting this detail really nice. I just didn't have that much time, so I quickly bashed this together It was sort of like a last minute idea. And now I'm just adding the lights in. I'm grabbing the lamp that's already in the scene that comes with the initial scene, and I'm just setting the lights up exactly how I had them when I was shooting. So it's a good idea to always note where your lights are and what direction they're pointing in, so that you can set up your lights in your 3D scene exactly as you had them in your real life scene, and then that will help sell the effect. Same with the colour temperature as well, because I had this backlight here with a CTB gel on it, so that's what gives the nice blue fill on the side of mine and Daniel's face when we're presenting. So I make sure that light there at the back has the same blue, and I'm just really cycling through just to see which light gives me the best effect, the one that most matches my original plate. It's a lot of trial and error, really. Trial and error and artistic flair. Just keep switching the views just to make sure I'm getting what I need. I'm conscious that there's a lot of information in this video, so if you do want me to make specific videos on specific techniques, then please just let me know in the comments below. But like I say, at the minute I'm just sorting out the lights and getting the scene to match as best as I can. And what I'm about to do now is start keying the keyframing the animation of the tentacles. So if you go to the bevel factor and you go to the end there, you can set a number from 0 to 1, and that's how much of your path has the bevel effect on it. So as you can see, if we keyframe that, so I go to the frame that I want that to start and click I over the top of it, and it creates a keyframe, and goes to the frame where it ends and click I again, and I just created. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a skeleton for the symbiote. So I add a bone in from the armature menu, again Control A, I place it where I want it, click the X-ray button so I can see it no matter where my camera is, and again I'm just using E to extrude bones out, and I'm making them follow the shape that I've created. Once I've got what I need, it's a pretty simple skeleton because it is literally just like a worm. Select your object and select the skeleton, and then press Ctrl P, and that will attach your armature to it. I did it with automatic weights, and then I go into weight painting, and as you see here, depending on which bone you are selected on, when you go into weight paint mode, it will show you what part of the model is affected by that bone, and if it's red, then the bone is affecting it completely. If it's blue, it's not affecting it at all, and then the colours in between are the level of effect it has. So if it's yellow, it's not completely affecting it, but it's affecting it quite a lot, and if it's green, it's kind of like a middle effect, and then if it's blue, like I said before, it's not affecting it at all. And what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting on each bone individually, and I'm going into the weight paint mode, and I am deciding what weights each bone should have, which parts of the model each bone should affect when they are moved, so that I can animate the whole symbiote. The way you do that is you select your armature, your skeleton, you select, and then you go into pose mode, select the bone that you want, and then go back, then select the object and go into weight paint. If you go to the vertex vertex menu and go down to shape keys and press the plus button there and add a shape key. What this allows you to do, you'll create a bias first, which is your mesh as you've created it. Now if you create another shape key and then alter your mesh, as you can see me doing here, and it's just a case of moving points around again, grabbing faces, grabbing edges, and just what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the symbiote to close around my face. So as you can see there, and then you alter the value slider and you will be able to smoothly transition between your bias mesh and whatever shape keys you've created. So again, what I'm doing now is I just pull everything up and over my face so that it all covers the green keyed head. And I only do this on one side because you don't really see the other side on camera, so I'm just basically working smarter rather than harder. So again, just to reiterate, if you go onto the vertex menu, which is the triangle on the right hand side there, top little triangle, and you scroll down to shape keys, you press the plus button, you'll create a bias, which is the mesh that you've created, and if you press the plus key again, you will get a shape key. You model onto the shape key and then you move the value and you keyframe it. The same way we did with the tendrils, moving to the point in the timeline where I want the face to be covered, and I press I to create a keyframe, and then I move all the way back to where I want it to be completely closed, press I again and add another keyframe. And then I do the same with the armature. Select I where I want it to be fully extended and work backwards, because we already have the shape where it's fully out. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that it covers my head at all points. It's just easier than having to go back in and rotoscope in After Effects. Again, every frame that I want it to move, I just click I and then select location, rotation and scale. And then when you play it back, that will, and the model will move. I'm just tweaking it. What I like to do is press Ctrl A when I'm in pose mode before I click I, so that I'm always creating a keyframe for all the bones rather than just one bone at a time. As you see here, I've just skipped forward. So now we're going into render mode. Make sure your resolution's on full. And we're on PNG with the alpha, which is RGBA. On pressure now, I always move it down to about 10%. And on sampling, because we don't really need too many samples for this, I'm going to put it at 32. No, I'm not. I'm going to put it on 100. And I'm going to click this little stopwatch here, and that's going to create, it's going to change the samples every time. The seed cell. And click onto performance, and we're going to change the tile size to 512 by 512. And then once you've set an output file destination and gone to GPU, you're then ready to render. Now the first render button will do a single frame out, but what we want to do is we want to select the animation button, and that will render all the frames in our animation. So 530 for this particular animation, which actually took 36 hours to render off. And when you re-import this into After Effects, you want to import it as a PNG sequence. So So here we are, and I've imported the PNG sequence. First thing I do is right click and go on interpret footage and main, and we want to check that the frames per second is the same as our sequence. Let's do that, and you just go up to sequence, composition settings, and it'll tell you just their frame rate, 25, and as we saw before, my PNG sequence is 25 frames a second, so we can just drop that straight in there. As you see, because we did it with the alpha, it already has its own alpha channel, and it fits straight on top. So we duplicate our original footage and overlay that over the top, and essentially what we're going to do is we are going to rotoscope out what we want in front of the symbiote, and everything else behind is going to be underneath. So what I'm doing here now is I duplicate the CGI layer, and our bottom original plate we're going to add a alpha matte, and basically that's just so that anything that's under the Venom CGI that isn't covered by the symbiote won't show up. And then I'll right click on the top CGI and open Keylight and drop of the green face, and then that deletes it. If we want to refine the mask, we go into Screen Matte. As you can see here, what's black will not show up and what is white will remain. Again, if we can just refine that by turning our clip black value up. As you see, it makes a sharper edge there. We'll go back to final result. I'm not going to show you rotoscoping Daniel out because it's the same technique as before. But in order to give the tendrils give them some movement, to make the tendrils undulate, I added a distort and turbulent displace, and I basically just keyframed the evolution. So at the beginning of the animation, the beginning of the clip, I set the evolution to 0, and then right at the end I just set it to 1, and that just gives the tendrils some movement, gives the whole thing some movement. So that's it. I know there were a lot of techniques within this, and if you are wanting me to go over specifics, please let me know in the comments below. If there's any other effects that you'd like me to try and recreate and make a tutorial on, then also let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click here. Or if you'd like to see other content that we create, click here. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe by clicking here. Thanks.